so little to talk about with the international break, but that never stops Steve Bone.
You can't stop me talking. I sometimes think there's more to talk about when there's less to talk about. If you know what I mean.
Yes. So let's start with. We have to start with QPR because we've been looking forward to your take.
Do we?
On it.
Yeah.
And it's several days old now, but the hurt is still there.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, it was such a dispiriting day, wasn't it? I think it was the day when we realised that if we weren't in a relegation fight before, we certainly are now. Although I think actually, because of the results that had gone before it, I think because we'd lost those, we'd thrown away 2 points at Blackburn, hadn't we? We managed to turn a win into a draw at Blackburn, and then we had the successive home games against Swansea and Derby, which didn't bring a single point and only brought 1 goal. I think at that point people thought, right, we've hit the worst form at the worst time. We need to get out of this sharpish. And I think people thought QPR away was a good game to go into next, because QPR at home have been pretty poor. They hadn't won at home for a little while. They hadn't scored at home for a little while. One chap in their team hadn't scored since November, but now has done so. We seem to do that to other players, don't we? If you haven't scored for 6 months, get yourself a game against Pompey and you're bound to score, because it seems to happen quite often. And it was just one of those where another early goal goes in against you. I think it was about the same time into the game as we conceded against Derby in the previous game. You go 1-0 down after 7 minutes, and everybody's thinking, "Oh well, that's that then. We're not gonna get back from this." And then it just went from bad to worse, didn't it? 3-0 down in half an hour. As ever with Pompey, a little bit of faint hope comes back into it with John Swift scoring. Good finish from him, although he owed it to the team after giving away the ball for the first goal. And then you're thinking at 3-1, well, if we get the next goal, it's game on. But we didn't get the next goal, and it ended up as being quite embarrassing. Our annual 6-1 defeat was at Stoke last year, wasn't it? QPR this year. We just have to forget it, really. Yeah, very disappointing, and the fans who were there were quite understandably not too happy about it.
No, the big data collection organisation Opta published something. We carried it as a news story. I thought it was amazing. It really was. It should have been a headline thing. The performance of QPR was the most clinical performance since records began.
Yeah. What was it? Did they have 7 shots on target or something and scored 6 of them?
It was 6 touches in the box, 6 goals. Never been done before.
That'll probably never be done again either, will it? So that's Pompey's place in the record books, guaranteed for many years to come, sadly. Yeah, and I think we had more shots than them, didn't we? And I don't know what the possession stats were, but it was, if you looked at all the stats apart from the goals, you would not have said that no one would have guessed that QPR had won 6-1.
No.
Which puts a question mark against the goalkeeper, I think, doesn't it? If they're only having that number of shots and they're all going past the goalkeeper, you're thinking, well, he should have got in the way of at least half of them, probably. And it draws a big question mark against the defence. Worryingly, that was pretty much our first choice defence, wasn't it? That wasn't a patched up defence. That was Devlin, Ogilvie, Paul Shaughnessy, who you would put money on, doing a good job and being the people you would want out there in front of the goalkeeper, and they just seem to fall to pieces. Whether Shaughnessy is not quite 100% yet, he was certainly found wanting for one of the goals, wasn't he, in the second half? But that is, it's quite embarrassing to be on the end or on the wrong end of a stat like that. It just makes you wonder how it can happen, but it has.
3-1 is bad enough. 4-1 is pretty painful. 5, and by the time you get to 6, it's genuinely embarrassing, isn't it? It's genuinely embarrassing.
Yeah, yeah. I always think I always think if you let in 5, seems a lot worse than 4 somehow, doesn't it? I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's sort of halfway to 10. But yeah, 5 and 6. You don't want to be. It becomes a score that stands out in the day's scores, doesn't it? You know, you have a quick scan down. You see who scored 5 or who's let in 5, and if it's 6, it's even worse. Happened at Stoke last year, and actually we bounced back quite well from it. When it happened at Stoke last year, Will Norris didn't, because I don't think he was ever seen again after that, was he, in the team?
No.
But we drew our next game after that, and then won our next away game after that, ironically, at QPR last season. So perhaps that means we'll bounce back from this and go and win at Stoke,
yes,
where we've still got to go this season, if you want to be optimistic about it. But
okay.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. I mean, the manager, Marlon Pack, didn't pull any punches afterwards, did they? They gave very sort of honest interviews about how it just wasn't good enough. No excuses. They know they need to do better, and you just hope that by the time the next game comes around, it will still be. In a way, you want it to be fresh in those players' minds, because you want them to remember that they've got a sort of debt to pay the fans. And fans want to see a big reaction to that. But yes, embarrassing and awful and everything else. And it's happened before. We've had worse defeats. We've lost by 6 at smaller grounds than that before.
Yeah.
And come back from it. It happens, but you don't want it to happen to you, and you don't want it to happen at a point in the season where you really need some wins to get over the line.
Yeah, sorry to put you through it. Thank you for the pain, but a good measured overview of what may or may not be an axiomatic moment in our season. John Messino said that he was quite pleased that we've got this international break coming up. It's about the right duration to reset and also to bring people back off the medical table. Your views about international breaks are quite well known. Has that simple circumstance just softened your views on international breaks, or no?
Well, it probably has for this one. I can see what the manager means, because I think sometimes when you've lost a game, doesn't matter if it's 6-1 or 1-0. I think when you've lost, you do want to get on with the next one. You don't want to dwell on it for too long, and you do want to sort of get on and try to win the next one and show that it was a blip or a one-off or whatever. But I think, not just because of this game, but I think because of the run we've had over the past few weeks, and I think if you go back to the start of February, we've won 2 out of 10 games, I think it is, in that time. Might even be 2 out of 11. It's not a very good statistic anyway. I just think maybe he's right when he says we just need to package those couple of months up as a little section of the season where we've had a couple of bright moments at Charlton and Millwall, but generally have not done very well and not got enough points. Put that away, put that in a box, have 13 days between games, get a few people a bit fitter than they were before the break, and then treat the last slab of games as a sort of mini season where we need to be on it and at it. So I can see where he's coming. Yeah, normally I would say if you've won before an international break, it's great, because you can light a cigar, put your feet up for a few days, and then you can think about continuing your winning run. But I do. Yeah, normally you don't want to defeat before 2 weeks off, but I think in this case I agree with him, and it's maybe not a bad thing.
Now, I've got an interesting one for you. I've been looking forward to asking you this. Don't take much notice of social media at Pompey Sound, but I saw someone say, if we get relegated, at least we'll get Saturday 3 p.m. kickoffs. again, and I got to thinking, is it that bad being in League One, playing, eminent teams like Blackpool and Plymouth and Reading and Wimbledon? Would relegation be that bad? Be that bad?
I had exactly the same thought, and it might be that I saw the same thing on social media as you. I do think there are things about being in League One that are better than being in the Championship. From the point of view of the quality of football you're watching and the sort of place that your team has in the sort of general football hierarchy, you don't want to be going down from the Championship to League One, generally speaking, do you? But yes, we would certainly have more Saturday 3:00 kickoffs, and I think a lot of people would think that's good. We've been starved of them this season, especially in the second half of the season, so that would be good. We'd probably win more games than we have this season, or did last season. Not saying we'd race to the title again as we did in 23-24, but I think we'd do okay. I think we'd be good contenders to come back up if we went down. So there are things about it that you could say are positive. But having said that, I think anyone who was sort of looking on the bright side like that, if you still said, what's your choice then? Where you choose, where do you want to be next season, Championship or League One? I think people would still say they want to be in the Championship.
Yeah.
Just because that's, you don't want to, how far do you want to take that argument? Do you want to go down to the Southern League and be a giant and win 6-0 every week? Clearly not. You've got to want to compete at the highest level. A big thing about winning the League One title and taking so long to get out of League One. We did take 7 years to get from through League One and up to the Championship. Big part of that was, yes, we finally left it behind. Now we can compete in a bigger pond. Let's see how we get on. So you don't want to be going. I don't think anybody really wants to be going back down. But if it happens, we'll get on with it. We'll all still be there watching, won't we? I don't think they'll have much trouble filling up the ground still. We'll lose some players. We'll buy some new ones. We'll see some dud games in League One. We'll see some great games in League One. So, Pompey have been relegated before and got over it, and we will do again if it happens. But I still think we all hope it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. Although it's probably worth pointing out that we will lose an awful lot of revenue from disappearing broadcast income. I think Pompey's increase in income from broadcasting this season against our last season in League One was an increase of 370%, up from 2 million to 11 million, which is a pretty eye-walk. It's more than we get from match day ticket sales.
Well, this is where football is at now, isn't it? So much of the money that football clubs get and are able to spend is coming from not just from TV, but other sort of broadcast rights and media rights as well. It's way of the world is that if football clubs are offered football clubs and leagues are offered those sort of sums, they're going to take them, aren't they? And that's why we have to put up with the 12:30 kickoffs and matches being moved to Monday nights at short notice and everything else, because the people that are making those decisions are paying good money to make them. Be interesting to see. That's a big drop between League One and Championship, isn't it? In terms of how much money you get from Sky and friends.
Yeah.
That means that if you do go down, big part of your budget considerations for the following season when you're down there is you're going to have to cut your costs, cut your cloth a little bit, aren't you? Not going to be able to keep everybody on the same wages they're on in the Championship. You'd have to shift a few players and ask a few to take a bit of a pay cut.
Thank you for all that. Moving on, is Iboe Adams deliberately skipping the Ghana friendlies in order to be 100% for Norwich, or should we start worrying about whether we've lost him for the season?
Well, that's a difficult one, isn't it? I've been reading all the various stories that have been about since Saturday, and it's a job to work out at the moment how serious or not serious the knee injury is, isn't it? He was walking around okay at the end of the game. I don't think it's famous last words this could be. I don't think it's a terribly serious one. There were people saying he was sort of almost in tears, or I think he was in tears, wasn't he? And there were some people saying that because he knows he's done his knee and he's out long term. I don't know. I think it was just all the emotion of the day. I think he knew that the team had failed badly, let the fans down. He was last to leave the pitch after going over to the fans and trying to sort of put his hands up and apologise to them, for which he deserves a lot of credit. All we know is that he was putting some ice on his knee afterwards. Hopefully it's just a kick or a little twist or something, and he'll be back for the Easter games. Because this is an international break, we're not getting as much information about the squad, are we, as we normally would. Normally by now we'd have had a press conference with manager and he'd have given us the injury update. So hopefully it's the former of the two things you've suggested. Hopefully it's a bit of a precaution, that the fact that he's not playing for the Gambia, and it'll be okay for the remainder of our season. Such a big player.
Yeah, sorry, you're right. Did I say Ghana?
You may have done. Yeah, you're switching his.
Yep, sorry about that.
It's only Segicic. It's only Segicic that has switched countries since we last talked about him. He's gone from Australia to Croatia, hasn't he?
He has.
And he's away as well at the moment, obviously. You've got to hope for the best with Adams, but with our sort of record, it does feel like most of these sort of unknown injuries then turn out to be worse than you think, doesn't it? So yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. Fingers crossed.
You see, just to bring you back to the international break thing again, I have trouble with. I wasn't very good at geography at school, and it shows because there are some friendlies going on. Today, for example, there was an international friendly between. Are you ready for this?
Go on.
Aruba versus Macau. Aruba?
Big game. every time there's a new international break, there does seem to be some new countries have been invented, doesn't there?
Yes, and of course on a very serious note,
there's only about 80 countries.
No, on a serious note, a lot of the countries that are in and around the war zone, America and Israel versus Iran, have had to cancel their games.
Yep.
Bahrain, for some reason Nepal versus Hong Kong is cancelled. UAE versus Armenia.
Strange.
As we can't get any predictions from you for the upcoming Pompey game, I was wondering about getting some predictions for some of these nonsensical friendly matches. For example, who do you think will win a game that kicks off in 5 minutes? Tanzania versus Liechtenstein. I always get a six-pack in and some popcorn for that one.
I like the Tanzanians, and I think they will. I think home advantage will tell there against Liechtenstein, who can only have about 200 people to choose from in their team, can't they? Liechtenstein. I think I'm going for a solid. I'm going for a 4 or 5. Might even be another 6-1 there. You know, like QPR Pompey. I think Tanzania will have 6 shots on target and score all of them.
I'll just quick word with the listener. Have you noticed, listener? I do try and knock him out of his stride from time to time, but I never get anywhere. He's always consummate. Terry Devlin, let's celebrate a man who...
I'll predict any football match you want.
and often get it scarily close. Terry Devlin, what have we got in him? He's our most highly valued player, according to a Swiss data agency. Unusual to have a right back as your most expensive player.
Yeah.
Unusual to have a right back as your most expensive player.
It is actually, and that is despite. I saw. He obviously did, like everybody else last Saturday at QPR. I don't want to keep going on about QPR, but he didn't have a good game at QPR. He was found wanting more than once, I think, in right back. And I saw a comment that somebody from Pompey had retweeted, comment on Twitter from a QPR fan, having a bit of a go, saying Pompey were rubbish, and and they said that Terry Devlin was the worst player they'd ever seen in the Championship. So, which I thought that was a bit harsh, but based on sort of watching him in a bad team performance for 90 minutes. I'm sure he's not the worst player in the Championship. He's had a good season, hasn't he? He's having a bit of a dip in form at the moment, which I think is probably in line with how the team are doing. Struggling for confidence. But yeah, in a relatively short space of time, he's gone from being a fringe player for us to one that you would miss if he's not there.
Yeah.
And he's still a player that you could pick in 2 or 3 different positions, and he'd do a job. We've only really seen him at right back this season, haven't we? Which I think is a shame. I said on here a previous time I'd like to see him actually further forward on the right, just to see what he could do.
Yeah.
Don't think we're going to get that. You could also use him in the number 10 position, or possibly as one of the 2 in midfield. I think he can tackle, he can defend, he can put himself about, but he can get forward as well, and he can play a pass. So yeah, very sort of valuable player to us. The worry will be if we do go down, will Wrexham come back in with a bid, and will that be quite attractive to him? We don't know, do we? But away with Northern Ireland at the moment, the senior squad, that will do him good. That will do his confidence good, I think. Hopefully he'll get into that Northern Ireland side, be a regular for them. And as we're speaking now, this is going to be out of date quickly when I say this, but they're playing Italy for a playoff, aren't they, for the World Cup finals? I mean, doesn't get much bigger than that, does it?
No, I think they've got one more.
Player, so
if they do well against Italy, I think they've got one more qualifying game again after that. I forget who it's with. Not quite such distinguished opposition, but they've still got to win through before they go to America. It's a very complex job, isn't it, qualification, and also, of course, running the tournament in 3 different countries with so many internal flights for the fans and for the players and everything. But we're still looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I've been reading about there's some worries over players getting visas to get into America. And how difficult that's going to be.
Yeah.
And there will be some who are playing a game in America, in the United States. They're then going to one of the other countries, so they're going to have to then go back into the United States. Will they have to do the visa process all over again? So with Mr. Trump in charge over there, it's all a bit volatile, isn't it? And there's a lot of uncertainty around it at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm sure it will all take place and will all get worked out.
Oh, here's another one. Here's another one for you. Then Trump has threatened to remove World Cup fixtures from stadiums which are located in states and districts that vote Democrat. Okay, where do you stand, Steve? If you can possibly do this in 90 seconds, where do you stand on politics and sport?
Oh, well. Unfortunately, you can't keep the 2 apart. But I think sport would be so much better and free to run itself if you could keep the 2 things apart. If you could keep. Politics is there is politics to sport. You can't get away from that, and there's politics in every sporting governing body. But if you could keep your everyday politicians out of interfering in sport and trying to take the glory from it, and trying to sort of put their involvement where it's not wanted, I think we'd all be much happier, wouldn't we? The example you've just given there is just completely ridiculous, isn't it? It's petty. And there's a lot of concern, I think, among football fans worldwide at the moment about how close FIFA has become to the president. There seems to be a bit of a relationship there that many are uneasy about. How that's going to play out, I don't know, but I think when politicians get involved in sport, it usually makes things harder and makes life more difficult and doesn't really improve things.
Yeah, it just occurs to me. I will ask you this because it's slightly weird. You never see any ex-footballers in the Houses of Parliament, do you? But I think down the years, and there haven't been many sports persons in Westminster, but those that have all been athletes. Sebastian Coe, Geoffrey Archer, a recent Lib Dem winner. His name escapes me. He was a Scottish international 100-metre sprinter. There's something there, but I don't know what it is.
No, I wonder why that is. I wonder why footballers don't get into politics. Very sensible of them, if you ask me. Yeah, it would probably be good for football if a few more of them did. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had a few sports ministers. We've had a few sports ministers down the years who you can tell don't know much about sport.
No.
And if you could have had a couple of ex-pro footballers in there, in that job, or ex-cricketers or ex-tennis players or golfers or whatever, don't just have to be footballers.
Yeah.
Somebody who knows sport and knows what it needs and knows what it can do in those sort of jobs, you would think you'd be better off. But
You would.
life is not that simple.
Well, we're not out of time. We've got another 5 minutes, but we're kind of at a loss for something to talk about because there's no Pompey game for you to predict. Have you got anything up your sleeve?
Well, I have actually, and we're jumping ahead a bit here, and we can expand upon this next week. But I've got a plan for Pompey for Easter.
Okay.
A radical plan that if Mr. Messino is listening, and I shouldn't think he is, he needs to get his notebook out and he needs to take this down. This is the Pompey lineup that I would play at Norwich on Good Friday. Okay.
Right, hang on, pencil.
You ready for this?
Yep.
You're gonna get this down?
Yep.
Right. So I'm at Norwich, Good Friday. I'm playing Bursic in goal.
Ooh.
I'm playing a back four of Swanson, DR, Matthews and Boat. Got that down?
This is our second 11.
Bear with me. Bear with me.
Sorry, who's at left back?
I'm playing Boat at left back because he's left-footed. I'm not sure if Matthews is fit. If he's not, it'll have to be somebody else there. Maybe Knight is fit, but that's my back four. Holding two midfielder, Pack and LaRue. My three behind the striker are Gus, John Swift and Harvey Blair, if Harvey Blair is fit, and he's another one I can't remember if he is or not. And then I'm playing Brown as the number 9.
Brown.
Do you know why I'm doing this?
No, go on.
I'm not. It's not to shame all the people that played at QPR. It is to. I'm suggesting that we should write off the Norwich game. Forget it. It's not important. We should put all
got it.
Absolutely.
Leicester,
100% of our
Ipswich,
resources, players, efforts. Well, not that so
Oxford.
much. The big one before Leicester and Ipswich comes along. Oxford. You've got Easter Monday against Oxford. We've got to aim to win 3 or 4-0. It's got to be the most convincing win of the season, and you've got to protect your best 11 for that game. They'll know what they need to do. You've got to give them all a rest for Good Friday. You can put 9 of them on the bench against Norwich, and then try not to bring them on.
That's a lovely thought, Steve. I've got to say, I didn't see that one coming. So well done. Is it lawful?
I think it is. It's all players who are in your 25-man squad.
Aren't you supposed to pick the best possible team available?
Well, who judges that though? How is that judged?
Yeah,
Is it that
I'm asking.
Not allowed to make a certain number? Yeah, I don't know. Good point. Well, we'll worry about that later when they fine us for it.
Yeah. Go on.
So leading on from this, my lineup for Oxford, and this is assuming people that we're told are becoming fit again. It also assumes Adams is okay. So my lineup for Oxford then is Schmidt, back four of Devlin, Poole, Shaughnessy, Ogilvie, Adams and Dazal as the midfield 2, Anderson back in on the right, Chaplin number 10, Ali on the left, Bishop up front.
Yep.
and they've
Okay.
all had at least two. They've all had 16 days between games. They're all fresh. They're at home. They're playing a team below us in the table, although they might not be below us after Good Friday.
Yes.
And I just think, put all the eggs in the basket. I mean, the manager did it, not to that extent, but he did gamble on resting people for some away games last season and then putting all the focus on the home games.
Yes.
And it worked some of the time. And of course, you put that lineup out at Norwich, you might just go nick a point. You don't know.
True.
You can't assume they're going to lose. They probably would, but if you get something, it's a bonus. But you then got everybody ready, knowing what they need to do at home to Oxford.
No, I think it's got a lot of merit. I have to say, the players will be playing out of their skin for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
The teams that are near Norwich in the league at the moment, they can't complain because they're not going to make the playoffs and they're not going to go down. So it's almost a dead rubber for Norwich anyway, and Watford and Birmingham around them. So you could well be onto something. I like it. As ever, Steve, absolutely fantastic. Copying everything that you have to say and think. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you. That's very kind. Yeah, look forward to the next one.